Assalamu alaikum, people listening and watching. You're tuning into the Let's Walk podcast. I'm your host Ata, and I'm joined by the man himself, Praveen Ummadi. Some of you might have seen him in TEDx. Some of you recognize him from the Grace Cancer Run, which happened a few days back in Gachibowli, or probably recognize the Grace logo on his shirt in the US if you have been part of the event as well. So, Praveen, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brother Rahman.
So, Praveen, with every guest we have on the podcast, we start from the beginning. And it's all those years where people don't know what goes into becoming the person that you are today. So, I should probably ask you, when was the first time you had your first sip of entrepreneurship?
Oh, that's a good question, Rahman. So I was raised in my aunt's place in Chennai, and they were into business. So almost from my fourth grade onwards, have been seeing business.
Yes. So, uh, you have been seeing business, and we briefly talked off record that how you ended up paying your engineering fees, and if you can dive a little bit into that story so that people can get into your mind.
Sure. So as I was taking care of the home, and when I joined engineering, the house that we were living in happened to be liked by film actors, the then Vijay, and his first movie was done there. Thereafter, it was a hit, so other movie makers showed the interest, and that's how that property became for movies. And someone had to manage it. I took the lead to manage it because of my interest in business, and we did generate some revenue. And so my uncle suggested, why don't you also pay your fees because you are also generating it. That's how I use that resources to pay the school fees, sorry, college fees.
Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you have changed as a person throughout your career as a business person or like as an entrepreneur, and how has it shaped your personality in terms of dealing with people initially, and then to what your strategies are right now and how you deal with people?
Yes, that's again a good question. So my uncle, they are from a political family. Late YSR was my uncle too, and so being seeing politics from childhood, it was all about serving others, and so dealing with people, showing them the love was something that we were involved from childhood onwards. And as an entrepreneur, as a gifted in administration, it's all about understanding different people's gifts and bringing them together and encouraging to achieve the goal. So it's all about people. And I firmly believe in God. So I believe God has gifted each of us with different gifts, and we should depend unto the Lord and do with that pure heart to the best of each of us, and we will see the fruits beyond our imagination. So it's all about love for God and love for people.
Yeah, you put it very nicely. If you can just go back in time and say uh, how you have changed as a person and how the business has impacted you. Like obviously running businesses are probably in different avenues. How has that changed you as a person?
Yes, as a businessman, that's good, Rahman. You're really making me to uh, uh, think how I have changed. I could say that when I was in my early business days, I used to be very tough when it comes to money. So used to really charge them what is I thought is the right thing, and never used to really agree for negotiations that much. And when it comes to payment terms, I ensured that payment is done. So I could say that I was more concerned about receiving the money that is due, and was very, very, very tough with the person. So that time, some people used to tell, dealing with you is really very tough. So, uh, but later I was advised by one of my well-wisher, a good brother, if you are so tough when it comes to money, we would not be able to bring in more business for you also. You need to sometimes be more relaxed. So that was one indication that I should be. And later, after going to the United States for my higher studies as well as business work there, I really saw that it's also a lot, got to do a lot with people. So I really got transformed uh, more into people and outcomes. So I'm now more interested in both people development as well as results, people as well as profits, you can say.
So you put it very nicely again that instead of just focusing on the result, you also have like equal focus on the people who are involved in the process. And do you think there's a huge difference between the transactions, or should I say the negotiations, the dealings done in business over here in India and those done in the US? Are people like there's different way that people deal? Are people more sympathetic, empathetic? And is there a huge difference, or is it the same all over the place?
In the US, uh, I was working and as was studying also. So really, not so much into entrepreneurship compared to this country in India. But what the main difference is, uh, in the US, because of the history they have, uh, I think it is more. Uh, they are more richer as a nation. So really, they are not. They need not be so stringent on the money in that part of the world because they are already well rich. Our country is a developing nation, and we don't have so much of money like that country, I think. So definitely in our country, it is a bit more challenging to get uh, the money when compared to that part of the world.
Yeah, I can see now, like when you put the economic situations in place, how it really matters. So now I want to maybe dive into the birth of GoBridge, and like you mentioned previously off record, like how you were working as a professional, and it was somehow a miracle that how GoBridge came into existence. I want you to share that with other people as well, and how you're bringing other leaders from different avenues, building bridges and partnerships.
So when COVID struck, because of my sister being the head of Apollo in the COVID side, and having known doctors in Apollo, and because of the need, and I could when somebody as a patient came, I could create a WhatsApp group, involve whoever is needed, and facilitate the process in finding a solution to them. So. Uh, because my diverse educational background and diverse work experience, we did wonders in COVID time. For example, for Andhra Pradesh, we helped in getting a number of oxygen concentrators and masks from UNICEF just through WhatsApp thing. It's almost from connection to completion, I can say. Like I just saw an ad on the paper. I just took a photo and sent it to UNICEF people whom I knew and then facilitated the process until the concentrators came. And then after the concentrators came, we were asked to even distribute it. And we could involve the Grace Cancer Run bus and ensure the distribution into the government hospitals of AP. And that was one of the time when the doctors, the entrepreneurs, the donors, as well as the government officials or the government people, they said, we need someone like you who just not connects, but takes it until completion. So then I did just ignore it because I was still enjoying my job. And then next time, we had one of our brother uh, who, in spite of telling not go to uh, Chennai for marriage, he went during COVID too. And when he came back, he came with entire family COVID, and his parents were COVID, his sisters were COVID, the bride and the groom were COVID. So long story short, we he ended up being in the hospital for 50 days, and we had to involve the doctors from the hospital. We had to involve doctors from outside, known people, and whatever blood plasma required, get it, whatever financial resources, because uh, nobody were really there in the right mindset to really even think of him. And even during that entire journey, his heart stopped, but God revived him back. And even his doctors, the hospital charged around 48 lakhs for 50 days, and we could make it into 30 lakhs. And finally, we could make sure even that 30 lakhs is covered through their company insurance to some extent, through crowdfunding and through other network channels. So that time, one of the members and some members said, "We have you have become a we are really become a fan of you." So that's when I thought maybe there is a need for collaboration. And then the third instant is we had a hospital again. They were doing very good service for the poor and the needy, and really patients couldn't afford. One case is one of our friend was there for 60 days, and the bill for him was just 2 lakhs. Imagine how much of, whereas the salaries are so high, and always they're in need of money. So then I realized unless we businesses are stronger, how can we give back to the community? So that's when I realized maybe we should make scale up businesses. And then the organization I was working for also said, why don't you be on your own? So that now that you're at a different level. So that's how GoBridge came into existence, where you're bridging in different gifted people or organizations to address the need. And I have a bachelor's in electronics and communications, and then a post graduation in total quality management ISO, and then a master's in geographical information science. Then I have little executive MBA kind of a thing, project management professional certification, partnerships certification. So this is a diverse educational experience, and as well as working in government, working in educational sector, working in the corporate sector. So because of all this diverse experience and education, I'm always somebody who like to connect and then facilitate until completion of it. That's my passion. So that's how finally GoBridge came to existence upon uh, the recommendation from others. And I thought it is something when you are starting your own, you can do what you're passionate about. When you're working for someone, you are still passionate about what you do, but to a large extent, you are fulfilling the organization's their vision. Maybe some, but when you have on your own, you're really doing your vision, your passion. So that's how GoBridge came into existence.
Yeah, that was like a brief intro into GoBridge, and um, I and when we go on to GoBridge and your website, you is there is a position. You're not the CTO, you're not the CEO. You are defined as the or positioned as the Chief Bridge Builder.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm thinking people might be hearing about this position. So why don't you just elaborate about
Yeah.
it?
So that's again good question. So, firstly, one of the friend in the US who is also on TEDx and who is good in his marketing, and he works in TCS at a very senior role. He coined this name as what you're doing is really you're bridging people and organizations. The CEOs and all is a very common thing. What you're really doing is bridging. So he coined it as Chief Bridge Builder. And then the real bridges that you see in Hyderabad, especially now, it's not just connecting to people. It requires from connection to planning and then facilitating within all the challenges that come in execution of a bridge until completion. So I want people to remember bridge, how difficult it is, and that's how this came as Chief Bridge Builder. How uh, challenging it is to deal with people with different values, different mindset, and bringing them into one page in completion of the task. Yeah, that's how this Chief Bridge Builder came. And whenever
So,
people ask, it gives me an opportunity to explain also.
yeah.
And because sometimes people think it's bridge means they go to the real bridge. But when they ask, I tell them, yes, it is like real bridge, how difficult it is to build bridge. Same thing what we're doing, bridging between different people and organizations in addressing the needs of the society.
So, being the chief bridge builder, this question is almost expected. So, what are some things people are not doing, or what are some things that people can do in order to build bridges and obviously create better partnerships and deepen the relationships beyond the partnerships?
Yes. So the question is what is that people should do to really build strong bridges and strong partnerships? Thank you, Rahman. I think first thing is transparency in communication. In project management, they say communication, communication, communication is the number one reason why projects fail or succeed. So, a very good transparency in communication, if required, even over communication, being that you see you have a plan, and as you start executing it, there will be changes that happen. So you need to be very honest about what's going right, what's not going as expected, how do we correct. If you try to dodge, that's when you have all these failures. So it's all I would request everyone to say you should be very transparent in communication. That's the key. And then we should always have respect for people, love for people. We should people will produce good results. They will also make mistakes. We should always uh, be honest with people in allowing them to do the best. And if they make mistakes, just give them another chance, another chance. And that's how you get the best out of the people and the best results. And above all, I think we should depend on supernatural power, like I'm saying, God, because there are so many things that are that we are not like blind spots. We say, when you're driving a car, you can't just see the blind spot, the vehicle just next to you, because it's very blind to your eyes. So similarly, there will be a lot of unknowns. So we should trust on the Lord. We should have take the right people and be transparent and move forward. So, if you ask me one thing, I would say transparency in communication.
So with this, I would probably want to jump into the most recent event, which was Grace Cancer Run, and if you can elaborate about it, and how did you coordinate, and you like you mentioned off record that it happened in 8 cities in the U.S. and tell us a little bit about how it came into idea and everything.
Yeah. So, Grace Cancer Foundation is founded by Dr. Chinnababu. He is an oncologist, He heads the cancer unit in Yashoda Hospitals in High Tech City. And Doctor um, is very passionate person, and his vision is for the world. And we had it in all the six continents, even last year, and this year at a bigger scale in all the six continents. And in the USA, we had in multiple cities. And it was my responsibility for coordinating, facilitating this. And we really cherished the way it happened. And I think people in the US, most of the coordinators were first time doing it. And after the end of it, they are so excited with the way it has come out, turn around for the good cause. Yes, Rahman. Does that answer your question, or you could help me to share the
Yeah,
question
it,
again?
it does actually. You know, you mentioned how what your role was specifically, and managing people from managing and helping out people from different continents and everything.
Mm.
There's one thing from an organizational perspective I want to ask a question is that as your organization grows, do you think that obviously the process of delegation and everything, do you think that you lose touch with the people in the ground level or people at the who might be at the end of the chain as your organization grows, and what you can do to mitigate that?
Mm. Good question. So it's it depends what role. So if you are playing, I would like to play a role where at the top level you're making the decisions and giving the plan, but you're also taking time to go to the grassroots and check how it's being implemented. So uh, you should uh, you should balance your way such a way that you are more you're at the top and you are at the bottom, and you have the team in the middle to do the work. So if you lose touch with the real grassroots level, then I think you will really not understand the real outcome that you want to. So you should make it a priority, an important thing to get the feedback from the grassroots. Go in person and visit. Yeah, be at the top and be at the bottom for sure.
You put it very nicely again. So, looking forward, what do you see a future for GoBridge? And yeah, what do you see a future for GoBridge?
Yeah, uh, good. So the desire, I always I'm reminded by this statement growing up. If wealth is lost, nothing is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. But if character is lost, everything is lost. So, GoBridge, one of the main reason it has come is to help the character of one another. Maybe starting with me, starting with my family, starting at my workplace. So, first and foremost, with the customers, everyone, it's about character development through the work that we do, primarily in the area of healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship. And this character thing is the underlying thing for everything. So I envision that as we take more and more organizations into GoBridge partnerships, we will ensure that we live up to the highest standards of character, and we will be a salt and light, and it will be a transformation for the people whom we are connected with. That's the fundamental thing. And through the deed work of healthcare in serving the people, we will accomplish whatever is required. Same in the education spectrum, same in the entrepreneurship spectrum. So I'm seeing that growing more and more, actually. So with the already Grace Cancer Foundation, we are there locally and globally.
Yeah, I like the point where you mentioned time and time again about how people and relationships are really important, whether it's an organization or a small company, whatever that might be. Eventually, it is comprising of people. And when those relationships, interpersonal relationships, are going to be set right, everything is going to work like a chain reaction. And
Yes.
as we approach to the time, I actually end with the perspective four questions. It's to bring a lot more perspective into our lives. So I want to shoot out the first question, which is, if you were to have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Thank you. So, when it comes from an entrepreneurship side, Ratan Tata, and when it comes from a government and bureaucratic side, I think Manmohan Singh. And when it comes from spiritual or a character kind of a thing, I would have loved to meet Mother Teresa. Of course, she is no more. So I'm really not able to think of a third person. Maybe we really don't have that kind of leaders in the present world, not enough, I'm feeling. But I wish I had met Mother Teresa.
Yeah. So those are the three people: Ratan Tata, Manmohan Singh, and the late Mother Teresa. And if you were to go back in time, let's say 5, 10 years, what would you say to the younger Praveen? What advice would you give to him?
Yes, good question. So when we were growing up, I think many of us may have known we had only two things: either you become a doctor or engineer. Though I liked sports, I used to play basketball. I ended up becoming an engineer. My brother ended up becoming a doctor, and my sister ended up becoming a lecturer. I think the present generation, including for my son, the opportunities are many more. They can choose what they are passionate about, talented, gifted, and pursue it and do it. I would encourage the younger generation. You just uh, be passionate about what you like to do for the society ultimately, and just focus on it and become a social entrepreneur that brings transformation to the society. That's what I would say.
How do you define a social entrepreneur, though?
Social entrepreneur, it's a good question. More about the social problems addressing in the health sector, in the education sector, you know, focusing on those problems. They could probably focus even on the other things also. No, there's nothing wrong in it. I just got reminded of this. Social is more related primarily to people, you can say.
Yeah. So, Praveen, do you read books? And if you do read or listen to books, if you can recommend three books, what would they be?
Wow, a good question. So I used to read a lot of books. I used to read a lot of business books, whether it is from Bill Gates to Google to as well as a lot of you know character-based books or people-based books like of Mother Teresa and all. But of late, due to my eyesight challenges also, and due to time and because of the technology, we have so many of audiobooks now. I'm actually more of listening more now, not really reading. And uh, that's a good question. So I can't specify really any names as such, but I'm listening to a lot of books for sure uh, in the area of leadership, uh, in the area of spirituality. Yeah. So one of the favorite thing that I'm regularly listening is on something. See, everyone needs to have a leader to follow. For me, it is Jesus. I follow him, and I read a lot of books or listen to a lot of books related to him. So something that I am doing now is again and again is lead like Jesus. Yeah.
So, Praveen, it's been amazing having a chat with you, and thank you for gracing us with your presence. And ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, you have heard it from the man himself. If you have learned anything, please do let us know in the comments. And feel free to check out their work at gobridge.net. I'll put the links down in the description as well. Other than that, you guys know what to do. Stay blessed, keep taking action. We will catch you in the next one.
Thank you so much, brother Rahman.